What's up guys, welcome back to the Street YouTube channel. I've had a nice week off, enjoying the sun, and now we are back making content during the international break. Not much going on in the football world other than the international games for the European qualifiers. So I thought I'd bring you, seems as the transfer window has closed, my tier list, basically grading the team's transfer windows and seeing how they've done with their business throughout this summer. So we're going to get straight into it, and first club we're going to look at is Manchester United because they are first on the random list. So their major incomings: Rasmus Højlund, Mason Mount, Andre Onana and Amrabat, who we are yet to see. Very good signings. If you identified key areas of the pitch Manchester United needed to strengthen, it was the goalkeeper situation. David De Gea just made too many individual errors during the latter stages of his Manchester United career, and the midfield reinforcements, other than Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes, were looking pretty shallow, having to play the likes of Eriksen, who was injured, McTominay and Fred. So by going out and getting Mason Mount and Sofiane Amrabat, it seems like that they have identified those weaknesses and improved in those positions. And of course, needing that number 9, they have gone and got Rasmus Højlund, who is pretty much an unknown quantity. One thing I will say is, usually when they go out and buy a young number 9, the last case being Anthony Martial, hasn't quite worked out. When they've gone and bought a proven number 9 goal scorer, as they did with Robin van Persie, it usually worked out. So, but obviously Rasmus Højlund, from what we've seen in the Arsenal game, does look like a very decent player and can hold his own in that number 9 position. Outgoings, obviously they let Fred go. Dean Henson has now gone on a permanent deal. Anthony Elanga to Nottingham Forest. I was pretty disappointed with that one. I thought he'd done okay in his Manchester United career, but ultimately it looked like he wanted game time. So they got a lot of deadwood out of the club. Unfortunately, they couldn't sell the likes of Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire to fund more transfers, but ultimately their business was a positive one, especially with the restrictions on the ownership and funding, stuff like that. So I'm gonna start Manchester United off purely just on the eye. Obviously we haven't seen a lot of these players. Amrabat, yet, like I said, is yet to be seen. Mason Mount's currently out injured. Rasmus Højlund, you know, has only had one season in the top 5 league. So because of that, I am gonna put them in A, because I think they've identified their key weaknesses and improved. But I can't put them in S or anything like that because we don't know how good they're gonna perform. On to Bournemouth. Let me just get the transfers up. Alright, key incomings for Bournemouth: Tyler Adams in that 6, Justin Kluivert, father from Olympique Lyon, looks like a decent youngster. Max Aarons, very good right back, got Premier League experience, and a couple of others to name a few. You know, they got a new manager in who likes to play attacking, pressing football. So he's identified key players which will enable him to do so. I think they've done that quite well. Obviously they're on a very limited budget. They've got rid of quite a few players who probably won't fit the system. So I think from a Bournemouth point of view, I think they'll be happy with this window. And obviously it all depends how the manager gets the team playing. I think they'll do okay this season. Don't think they'll get relegated. I think they'll be pretty comfortable. So I'm going to put that I put it in the C tier just because, obviously, you know, the quality of player. You know, getting Tyler Adams is a big one. He did have a medical, as we all know, at Chelsea. So if Chelsea were buying everyone at this point, but you know, the fact that Chelsea are even looking at him and Bournemouth managed to poach him seems like a good transfer to me. On to Aston Villa. Major incomings there. Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen, very good player. Pau Torres from Villarreal, European club. Again, you know, is a player with good experience. Zaniolo from Galatasaray, formerly of Roma. Again, good European pedigree. And Yuri Tielemans and Clement Longley, both with proven Premier League experience. Outgoings, they let a couple of youngsters go. Namely Cameron Archer, who started life very well at Sheffield United. Ashley Youngs went to Everton. Marvelous Nakamba to Luton on a permanent deal. So they've got rid of a lot of deadwood. Obviously Philip Coutinho's now gone to Saudi Arabia, and these are players which would have been on, especially Coutinho, decent salaries. So to get them off a wage book is massive. And they brought in real quality with the money that they had. Obviously, Moussa Diaby has come in and he's been electric so far. He's been one of the positives in the Aston Villa team, who started the season quite strangely. 2 big defeats to Newcastle and Liverpool, but then bounced back against the other teams which they had beaten. So obviously they're on 6 points at the moment. And I think they've done very good business, and I'm actually going to put them in A tier with Manchester United, because I think the personnel, individual personnel they've brought in is of real quality, and definitely an upgrade of what they already had. So moving on to Brighton. One thing I would say with Brighton, as I'm getting up the players, is it's not so much the players they've brought in, even though some of the players they've brought in are of real quality. It's the selling of players and the fees that they managed to get in for these players, which they'd only paid a very small fee for, you know, even a year or 2 prior. So let's talk about their incomings first. João Pedro, 35 million from Watford. Verbruggen from Anderlecht. Looks a very good youngster in goals. Mahmoud Dahoud, he's had a bit of a stop-start career. Looked very good when he burst onto the scene. Went to Dortmund and it didn't quite work out for him. And then obviously one of the big ones being the ability to poach Ansu Fati away from Barcelona. But like I said, the big ones is the outgoings, where they managed to get 23 million for Robert Sanchez, 35 to 40 million for Alexis McAllister, and obviously the big one being 115 million for Moses Caicedo. And to be honest, they don't look any different. The way of playing is still the same. Yes, Moses Caicedo is a big hole to fill. He did play very well for them, as did Alexis McAllister, but you know, they have James Milner now, so they don't need to worry because he's going to be there for the next 15 years. So I am going to put them in. I'm going to put them as the first club in the B tier. Like I said, mainly because the players that they've brought in, like I said, are of decent quality. And I'm very sure that De Zerbi will turn them into better players than they were when they first came in. But obviously, we're 4 games into the season. Those players are yet to show that obviously dynamic improvement, which I'm sure will come. You know, João Pedro started very well. He looks like a decent player, but they did pay nearly 40 million for him, so he's expected to be a decent player at that anyway. So moving on to Chelsea, and from one end of the spectrum being Brighton selling a load of players for a high price, is Chelsea. who have bought a load of players for an expensive price tag. Right, so let's just get struck in with the incomings. Moses Caicedo, like I said, 115 million. Roman Lavia for about 55 million. Christopher Nkunku, who in today's market for 60 million doesn't actually seem like a bad signing. He was very, very good for a number of years in the Bundesliga. Has pedigree, came from PSG. And I think it's a very good coup for Chelsea, but it's one of the very few good coups that they've had. Moses Caicedo has obviously come in. Whether he performs very, very good, which is to be expected for the price tag, or very, very bad, is yet to be seen. So far, his performances in the Chelsea shirt have flattered to deceive, but I'm sure he will prove his quality. Roman Lavia. He's been out injured, hasn't played for Chelsea yet, and there's been talks of him picking up another injury in training, which would be an unfortunate setback. Cole Palmer, another big addition, 45 million from Manchester City. For a player who's only played a handful of times in the Premier League, it's a pretty strange one. But obviously, with Cole Palmer, we all know that he does possess the quality, as shown at the start of the season, scoring in the Community Shield against Arsenal. They brought in defensive reinforcements in Disasi, and another main one being Nicholas Jackson, hopefully fulfilling that number 9 spot, which they've been missing for quite a few years, to be honest. Outgoings, they've also done well outgoings as well, which has been one of the many reasons why they've been able to generate all this income without the breach of financial fair play. Letting Kai Havertz go to Arsenal for a big fee, Mason Mount to Manchester United for a big fee, Kovacic to Manchester City for a half decent fee. I think it was about 30 million. Kalidou Koulibaly, obviously that transfer didn't work out, so getting him off the wage bill is massive. Christian Pulisic to AC Milan. Edouard Mendy, again another one who started his career at Chelsea very well, but lost his place to Kepa and failed to get it back, so obviously he's off to Saudi as well. And another couple of ones like Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Ethan Ampadu, players like that who were never going to get into the starting 11 with the new players, all off the wage bill. So I'm actually going to put Chelsea in the B. Bought and sold a lot of good players, but have spent a lot of money to get those players in. Now on to Crystal Palace, and it's been quite a strange window for Crystal Palace, allowing the likes of Wilfried Zaha to go on a free. When their best bit of business was probably keeping Elise. They bought in Robert Holding, which could be a decent signing for them. I think they paid pennies for him, and he could turn out to be at the money a very good buy for them. Very good Premier League experience. Dean Henderson upgrading their goalkeeper situation as well. He's a good young English goalkeeper, but I am going to put them in C. I don't think the loss of Wilfried Zaha is massive. He kind of carried them for a number of years, and they rejected a lot of massive fees for him at the time and allowed him to go out on a free. Seems a bit of dejection in the Crystal Palace camp. Okay, on to Everton. Let's get Everton's up. I don't even need to get Everton's up because there hasn't been that much decent business anyway. The marquee signing being Beto from Udinese and Danjuma from Villarreal. And the outgoings, obviously they allowed Alex Iwobi to go to Fulham. Damari Gray to Saudi Arabia, which I thought was a weird one because he was one of their better players last season, and I don't think he should have been sold, but it is what it is. But I think Everton are going to be in real trouble this season. I don't think they've done enough business. If they're relying on Beto to get them out of trouble, because Calvert-Lewin's out for what looks like to be at least a couple of months with that cheek problem. I don't think that is going to be enough. I think they did need to bring in a few more players with a squad which is already proven to be at the lower standard of the Premier League. So I am going to put them in D tier. Luton, one of the clubs which are at such a financial restraint, making that meteoric rise from the National League into the Premier League. But I think what they've done with the money at their disposal, I think they've brought in some decent players. They've made some of the loan signings permanent, which you would expect. But ultimately, their marquee signing probably being Tim Krul and Tahith Chon from Birmingham. I don't think anyone in the Luton hierarchy is expecting to stay in the Premier League this season. If they do, it'll just be a massive bonus. But I think they're happy to accept the money for coming up, and then obviously the parachute payment if they do get relegated, which will stabilise the club. So I am going to put them in D tier also. Right, on to Liverpool. Where are we going? Right, there we go. Liverpool. Mainly midfield reinforcements for Liverpool this summer. Obviously, with the aging midfield, couple of unexpected departures in Henderson and Fabinho. A lot of out of contract players as well. But I know it's early on in the season, but it looks like they have done a decent job in those midfield reinforcements. Obviously, they didn't get the likes of Caicedo and Lavia. They lost out to Chelsea, which would have been a real bummer for them. They had to somewhat settle for Wataru Endo, but at the cost of 15 million, proven Bundesliga experience and a captain for his national side. So at the age of 30, he'll probably provide 1 or 2 years of cover for whoever else they bring in. You'd imagine they would bring in another 6. They have signed Ryan Gravenberch, but to me he looks more of an 8. As well as Alexis McAllister, he's definitely an 8. And Dominic Szoboszlai, who looks to be that right-sided player to replace Henderson, who will bomb forward at every opportunity and link up with the attacking players. And so far, both Alexis McAllister and Szoboszlai look very good. We are obviously yet to see Ryan Gravenberch, and when Endo has played, Liverpool have mainly been down to 10 men, so it's difficult to see Endo's quality when you are at that 10 men capacity. But I think, like I said, the midfield reinforcements have been a solid one. I think Szoboszlai is going to be a star, and obviously McAllister, we all know his quality from Brighton and in the World Cup, so I'm going to put them in A. On to Manchester City. It's been quite a strange window for Manchester City, mainly because they've allowed a couple of really good players to leave the club, mainly being Mahrez to Saudi Arabia and Gundogan to Barcelona. Obviously, like I said, they let Cole Palmer as well go to Chelsea, which looked to be one of their better, younger, up-and-coming players. But they have brought in quality to replace as well, let's not forget. We'll start in that centre-back option, and with Josko Gvardiol. He's highly touted to be one of the best young European defenders, he was playing for RB Leipzig last season, performed very well, and Man City went and picked him up for around £18 million. Matheus Nunes from Wolves, which was a bit of a strange one. Nobody saw this one coming late in the window. Not much to say about him. It looks to be just a squad player with the potential to hopefully improve under Pep Guardiola. Similar with Jeremy Doku, lightning quick winger. One thing they are missing was pace in those forward positions, and Jeremy Doku will definitely provide that on the right hand side. Mateo Kovacic clearly being brought in as a Gundogan replacement, a bit younger, and with 2 Champions League medals. No one can deny his quality. Whether he is as good as Gundogan, I don't think so, but I think he'll slot into this Manchester City team quite well. So I'm going to put, purely because they have missed out on or lost very good key players, especially Gundogan. He was so solid for them. He, with his 2 goals, won them the league on the last day 2 seasons back. Had a big hand in helping them win the league last year. Also, I am going to put them in B tier, mainly because like some of the signings they made was unexpected as well. I don't think Matheus Nunes for 50 odd million was the smartest decision. So on to Sheffield United, and I think with Sheffield United, with the financial restraints that they're under, also they have done some very good business. Mainly Cameron Archer from Aston Villa. He has hit the ground running, got 2 goals, or a goal and basically an assist. Come back off the post and Jordan Pickford hitting off his back. And another one that they bought in, which was good, from Coventry, was Hamer. He's already scored as well in the Premier League. So they are some decent looking signings. They lost 2 of their talismans, as you wish. And Dai going to Marseille, he was a massive loss for them. He would have, he was definitely their best player coming up from the Championship. And Sander Berge going to Burnley. You wouldn't have wanted to lose any of them, but I think they recruited quite well with the money they've received for them. So I am going to put them into B tier also. On to Wolves, and what a bad transfer window it has been for Wolves, losing a lot of their best players. What am I doing? Anyway, while I get that back up, Wolves lost, like I said, a lot of key players. Matheus Nunes, who they got a lot of money for from Manchester City, but it was so late in the window they weren't able to capitalise on that. So you'd imagine they bring in some reinforcements now in January, because it looks like they're going to be in trouble come January. Obviously they've lost their best player in Ruben Neves as well. Nathan Collins to Brentford. These are massive players who would be starting every week for them. Raul Jimenez, he wasn't the player he was before his injury, but he got sold to Fulham. Even the likes of Connor Cody, he is now gone to Leicester. But who they've made the Matheus Cunha signing permanent, signed Bellegarde from Ligue 1, which he looks to be a half-decent player. But other than that, there's no other marquee signings for them. So I am going to put them in the D tier. Right, so on to Newcastle United, the team with all the cash, but are doing business quite wisely within the constraints of financial fair play. So, Newcastle. So what we're going to start off with, obviously, the incomings. Sandro Tonali, Harvey Barnes, Tina Livramento, and Lewis Hall are the main ones. What I will say is there was some unknown with Sandro Tonali. He's come in, hit the ground running, and he looks to be an exceptional player. Harvey Barnes was a bit of a strange one for me because he was one of Leicester's better players, but he never really shown an exceptional quality to earn a move to ultimately now a top 6 club. Livramento showed a lot of promise while at Southampton, but injuries got the better of him last season, so it's interesting to see how he responds. And Lewis Hall was a good academy prospect from Chelsea. Outgoings, obviously getting rid of some of the deadwood. Apart from St. Maximan, I thought that was a big loss for them. He was one of the better players for Newcastle before the takeover, but unfortunately injuries for him meant that he was a bit stop-starting his Newcastle career. Getting the money back for what they spent for Chris Wood, or the vast majority of it, is a good bit of business, because ultimately that's one of the only transfers that hadn't worked out under the new ownership, and the main departures. So I think that they've done very good business, and I'm going to put them in the A tier. I've put no one in S tier, which is a bit strange. Might do a bit of rejigging at the end, we'll see. But onto Nottingham Forest, and they have again a lot of incomings, just like last summer. Unlike last summer, they've brought in a lot of very good quality. Sangare managed to poach from PSV Eindhoven. Is a good coup for a club like Nottingham Forest. Anthony Elanga from Manchester United, again another player who's hit the ground running. Scored the only goal of the game against Chelsea in a 1-0 win. Chris Wood, I said, didn't do the best at Newcastle, but hopefully he can come in and provide backup, I'd imagine, for our knee. Matt Turner, new starting goalkeeper, second choice at Arsenal, came in and has so far done a half-decent job, and could potentially be one of the better signings of the transfer window, and that is Callum Hudson-Odoi, signed for only $3 million from Chelsea, a player who's kind of lost his way. 3 or 4 seasons back was wanted for $70 million and offered a 200 grand a week contract to sign at Bayern Munich. That got rejected by Chelsea because they wanted to keep him, and ultimately he has his career is derailed, and now has found himself at Nottingham Forest trying to revitalise his career. But like I said, there's some very good signings. The only blip in their transfer activity has been letting Brennan Johnson leave to go to Spurs, although they did get a big fee for him, which I don't think many people would have expected. Yes, he's a decent player, but I don't think they would have thought in their wildest dreams they would have got 50 million. So I am going to put them again in the A tier because I think they've done some smart business. Over to Burnley now, and let's just get Burnley's up. Another player, another club who has done a lot of business in the transfer window. Mainly, to me, their marquee players are James Trafford, the under 21 Euros winning goalkeeper. Again, he went through the whole competition without even conceding a goal, so it shows that he's got some quality there. Aaron Ramsey, another youngster from Aston Villa, and Sander Berge from Sheffield United, who has that Premier League experience. And there are so many more players who are yet to feature, or we don't really know much about, so it's hard to make a comment on them. Getting Wout Weghorst off their books is going to be massive, because he didn't really do it for Burnley when he was in the Premier League, and obviously he struggled massively at Manchester United. So I'm going to put Burnley in the C tier. Now on to Tottenham Hotspur and the new coach, Ange Postecoglou. Right, let's get Spurs up. Like I said, they bought Brennan Johnson from Nottingham Forest. Yet to be seen whether I think it's one for the future. Obviously, they had to replace Lucas Moura, who left the club. You'd imagine Kulusevski will start ahead of him, but who knows? He could turn out to be another class signing for Ange Postecoglou. They obviously got James Maddison, who's hit the ground running, gone up another level, and he's been exceptional. Van de Ven, he hasn't been seen much. I don't really know much about him. I just know he's a young defender with a lot of potential. Pedro Porro, they made that signing permanent, and he started the season very well also. And Vicario has come in as the new #1 goalkeeper to replace Hugo Lloris. Outgoings, obviously, one massive hole left in their club. Harry Kane has left Tottenham Hotspur. It was always coming. Harry Kane was looking to leave. You know, you could see that for quite a few seasons, and has finally got his move for, I think it was about 80 million to 100 million to Bayern Munich. At the end of the day, he's 30 years of age. They got some good money for him, and I think they've bought well with the money that they've received for him. They do need another #9 because it doesn't look like Richarlison's going to be that guy. He's had a whole season last season, and in the first 4 games he's failed to score so far. So it looked like it could be just the lack of goals which ultimately stops Spurs. But you know, Heung-min Son played as a #9 against Burnley, and he did score a hat-trick, so we will see about that one. But yeah, ultimately with losing Kane is massive, so I'm going to put them in the B tier. So moving on to Fulham. Just get Fulham's up. Main incomings for them: Alex Iwobi, Calvin Bassey from Ajax, Castagne from Leicester, Raul Jimenez, as we've talked about, Adama Traore, and that's about it. But all those signings have been shrouded by the loss of Alexander Mitrovic. It's such a big loss for a team like Fulham to lose. You know, he scored 14 goals in the Premier League last season, and it's such a massive loss for them, which obviously I don't think they've recovered from, because it doesn't look like Raul Jimenez is going to be that guy to get those goals that Mitrovic will be leaving behind. So I'm going to put them in, we'll go C tier. I think the players that they brought in are decent players, but like I said, losing Mitrovic is absolutely massive for them. Moving on to Brentford. We're coming to the end now. On to Brentford, there they are. Major incomings for them: Nathan Collins, good young left-sided goalkeeper defender from, I'm looking at Flecken. Good young left-sided defender from Wolves. I think once he comes into this Brentford side and settles, I think he's going to be a very good player, and at 25 million is going to be probably a steal. Kevin Schade and Flecken, both from Freiburg. Schade costing about 20 to 25 million, and Flecken about 10 to 15 million. Both first team players to come in. Schade looks like he's coming, and he's a very good young player who's currently playing in the number 9 position in Ivan Toney's absence. I think he's doing it quite well. He scored a goal against Crystal Palace, linking up the play quite well and allowing Mbeumo to do his thing and getting the majority of the goals. Outgoings, you know, the major outgoing was David Raya to Arsenal. Again, looked like he wanted to just play at that higher level, and he got his move, which was a bit of a shame, but they've obviously recouped quite well getting in Flecken. So I'm going to put Brentford in the B tier. Now on to Arsenal, which is the penultimate club in this list. Major incomings: Declan Rice for 105 million, Kai Havertz for 65 million, Timber for about 40 million, and like I said, David Raya initially on loan with the view to buy next year. You know, very good transfer window by Arsenal. They've really made a lot of statement signings after coming so close to win the Premier League last year, and it looks like they've made that step up to really push Man City to that Premier League crown. Bringing in Declan Rice to replace Granit Xhaka is massive, and bringing in Jurrien Timber as that kind of versatile option, can play left and right back and in centre half. He's going to be massive for them. Obviously he's out with a bad knee injury at the moment, but he's a young player and he'll prove his quality in years to come. Obviously the one question mark is Kai Havertz. Didn't quite do it at Chelsea. Obviously won them a Champions League in the, by scoring the winning goal in the final, but other than that didn't really light up Stamford Bridge too much. But hopefully Arteta can get the best out of him. They are going to be my first club in the S tier, because I just think statement signings like Declan Rice and Timber are just massive. Yeah, so we'll move on to the last club, being West Ham, and probably the team that's lost the most valuable player in this transfer window. Like I said, Declan Rice going to West Ham. It is, you know, a massive loss, losing your captain, losing the best player at your club. But they did get, like I said, a nice fee of 105 million, which I thought they recouped very, very well. Bringing in Mohamed Kudus, a very good young player from Ajax, Edson Alvarez, who has come in and just slotted in so well in this West Ham team, and obviously the other big one being James Ward-Prowse from Southampton. He looks to have been one of the players which most teams missed, and he was just there in plain sight, always shown quality in the Premier League. For Southampton, one of the best dead ball specialists in the world, and he's come to West Ham, stepped up his game again, and he looks a very, very good quality player to replace Declan Rice. And ultimately, to me, it looks like it's made West Ham an even better team. So just purely because of the incomings, we're going to ignore the Declan Rice outgoings for this one, because it was just inevitable. He's openly admitted that he wanted a new challenge, so there's nothing West Ham could do. But the incomings for me have been that crucial and that good for West Ham, that they are going to be, for me, the second team in that S tier. So there's my list. Let me know what you think. It is a very long video, so I apologise for that, but I just wanted to get all my points across, just to obviously there's been a lot of incomings and outgoings for these Premier League teams, and it's going to be interesting to see how they all perform in the league this season. As I said, Arsenal and West Ham for me doing the best business, with a lot of teams filling in gaps where they needed to and improving the team accordingly. But yeah, let me know how I did in my list in the comment section. Let me know who you change, If you change anyone, other than that, I will be back probably later on today or tomorrow with I done a short with my top 5 players in the Premier League in each position. So I'm just going to make a long form content video of that, explaining why I made those decisions. If you haven't seen it, just wait for the video, and like I said, I'll go through all my decisions there. And other than that, just give this video a like if you like my sections, if you like this obviously this content, especially in the absence of football at the moment, or Premier League football. Like I said, subscribe if you're new, it only helps me out. And other than that, I will see you in the next video. Peace.